All right. Seen a lot of videos on this subject, so I figured it's my turn to weigh in. As far as it goes, let me go ahead and set up the phone here so I can get a right and proper picture and everything. That works. All right. We good? We good? All right. All right. In three, two, one. Right. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, so the open carry issue. The open carry issue. The basically the biggest fight since, well, taxation without representation. Um, Basically need to lay it out like this. The reason why they're pushing concealed carry so hard is because you have to ask for permission, legally speaking, in order to concealed carry. However, to carry openly, legally speaking, you do not have to get a license, ask permission of the government, or pay any special taxes, fines, or fees. Now, why would that be a big deal? Why would that be an issue? I mean, think about it. Why would it be an issue for you to go and carry concealed and be that surprise to the criminal? Why would that be an issue? Well, it's not an issue. In fact, that's actually the way that it's supposed to be, is that you're supposed to surprise the criminal. But that being said, who doesn't want you to be able to defend yourself? There's two different kinds. They're both criminals, though. There are the actual fucking super duper creepo criminals that are pieces of shit that would try to take advantage of you and all that fun stuff for nothing other than shits and gigglies. And then there are the ones that do it for power. We call these people politicians. They don't want you concealed carrying because it takes away from their power. It scares the shit out of criminals, the other criminals that don't have that political power. And so they turn around to their I don't even know what the fuck to call it, because basically it's like they're the aid, the comp, they're the ones that are going and making it possible for them to do it, but they're not the ones committing the crimes. And so instead of calling them what they actually are, which is tyrants, power mongers, and criminals, we call them politicians. And this politician nomenclature makes it all okay. It makes it all okay because otherwise they'd be criminals. They really would be. But because they are politicians and they represent you, they're not criminals anymore. So you have to ask them for permission to walk around with your gun underneath your coat. You know how many times I've been busted for concealed carrying with a lawful arm, by the way? Not even a firearm, just lawful concealed carry. But because I didn't have a permission slip from our government. For emphasis, something that big has literally got me thrown on the back of a police cruiser. On the back, not in the back. You know why it wasn't in the back? Because that cop figured it out real fast. It's not even illegal for a felon to carry that openly. Concealed, still not a felony, still not a crime even, not even a misdemeanor for you to carry something this big. However, once you go from this big, ouch, I can reach it, really I can. Oh, to this big, it goes from being completely legal in every state in the union to 100% illegal in every state in the union unless you are hunting, fishing, or a lawful concealed weapons licensee. Do you see the difference here? They're both single-edged blades. In fact, they're both utilitarian and they're both dull as shit. They're not actually that sharp. Both of these knives are dull. I mean, relatively speaking, when I talk sharpness, I'm talking about I can shave with it. Okay? And as you can see, nothing's gone. These are not sharp. These are actually dull, in my opinion. So, yes, they'll still cut you, but they won't cut you like they would if they were sharpened. Sorry about the seasickness. Of course, I have my headphones in, so you get to hear everything that I say, rather than just the stuff that you want to hear. As I was saying, the difference between this knife and this Buck 120, no, it's not length. No, it's not width, even though, yes, they are different. And no, it's not depth of blade, because, yes, they are different by a quarter of an inch. But that is not the difference. This one, Uncle Sam says, is illegal for you to carry down the street. Unless you're a concealed weapons licensee in certain states, and in other states it doesn't matter because it's just a knife. It's not a firearm. This is legal in every single state in the union. This includes New Jersey. This includes New York. This includes the least weapon-friendly freaking state in the union, California. That's where I bought this. That's where I carried this as a standard, was in California. So this is not illegal in the state of California, but this is. And the reason being is because, according to them, a stab from this is lethal, but a stab from this is not. I want you to take note of something. That's called a hilt. Notice something that this doesn't have? Where's the hilt on that? Oh, that's right. It doesn't have a hilt. This one does. So what can you do with this knife that you can't do with this knife? Exactly. Which one's more lethal? That's my point. God damn it. Fucking cables. I hate these shits, but you know what? You got to deal with it. Because otherwise, the other option is you get to listen to his ass whine all night while I'm sitting there in the background trying to talk to y'all. Anyways, this knife is 100% by the actual standard of lethality deadly. But only because when you stab in, it cuts its own way in. This doesn't stop it. It's not gonna. So this, by the same standard as the other one, is a lethal weapon. But because the other one has this part longer, it's not a lethal weapon. And I had a police officer explain this to me after he tried to bust my balls and then realized he had nothing. He acquiesced to every single thing I said, and then he explained to me why something this big, if I were a felon who was prohibited from having any kind of weapons, something this big would be illegal. Except for one thing. If it had a hilt bar, just that hilt bar would have made it so it was completely legal for a violent felon to carry. Do you hear me now? So you know what the difference between this and this is? If you said one's a projectile weapon and one's not, you're wrong. Do you know why? Because if you hadn't noticed, you can throw them, you know, like that. So tell me, that's not a projectile weapon, but that is. Tools, my friends, tools. That's all they are, is tools. And every idiot that continues to play along with this bullshit ass game of, oh, well, because I'm carrying this without the cap and ball system, I have to have a permission slip from my government to carry this. But I don't for this. Funny enough, I can throw this one better than I can throw this one. Amazing. This knife, which is made for combat, specifically, it's what it was designed for, does not throw like a combat knife. It throws like a brick. This one, that's made to be a bushcrafting knife and a utilitarian blade, almost like a box cutter, throws like as if it was made for it. This one cost $14.99 at Walmart. This one cost $300 at Walmart. But you know what? This one is illegal to carry. This one isn't. It could also be said the same for this. You see, this is a cap and ball revolver. This is a black powder antiquity firearm facsimile. It is not, by law, a firearm. Yes, I know, I'm very well aware that according to actual reality, this is what we call a fucking firearm. Duh! For all of you lunatics out there that don't understand the difference between facetiousness and facts. Yes, this is a firearm. No, it is not legally a firearm. It is just logically a firearm. Okay, there's a difference in argument there because, legally speaking, I could carry this on my hip, walk down the street legally without a fucking permission slip, and don't have to tell anybody, don't have to fucking deal with Dick on a fucking weasel, don't have to tell anybody about nothing. It doesn't matter. This fucking gun does not fucking matter. But the moment I go and I purchase a cartridge gun, specifically made to be a cartridge gun, I have to have that permission slip according to the law. Now you tell me, why does that matter? This one will kill you just fuck as dead as that other one will. Matter of fact, this one will kill you deader. You know why? I have you look on the inside of that right there. You'll notice that grease. That stuff right there. You know what that is? That's Crisco, folks. Do you know what Crisco does when it's exposed to air? I'm sure it'll come to you at some point in time, but I'm going to just walk you through it. It becomes rancid. It becomes poisonously toxic to your body. So in other words, if you get shot with one of these balls, not my balls, but these balls, you'll get an infection that will travel to your heart within 3 days. Rather than just like, the infection that you get from a cut on your skin that travels to your heart in maybe a month. The reason being is that this makes it deep inside. This is why it only takes about 3 days for the infection to make it to your heart. Even if you are not lethally hit, even if you are not mortally wounded, that infection will find its way through your vascular system to your heart and then to your brain. Because this particular, not a firearm, needs certain things to operate correctly. However, even though this gun is way fucking more lethal than a modern firearm, you don't need to have a license to carry this gun. But to carry a modern firearm with actually less lethal projectiles than this carries and utilizes, you have to have a very detailed background check done, all sorts of extra special training, and jump through a whole bunch of damn hoops. And then you have to be able to make it so that you basically suck the dick, for lack of a better term, of the agency that you are going to asking permission for carry of that firearm. However, I don't have to ask for any permission whatsoever. The reason being is this is a black powder firearm, an antiquity, and therefore does not follow under the same regulations as a modern firearm anywhere. Now, that being said, states like New Jersey, New York, yeah, I would actually have to go and modern firearm this sort of thing. It's a modern firearm, even though it's not a modern firearm. But that's just New Jersey, New York, a couple of other places that might be a little funky about cap and ball revolvers, like Michigan. But that's not California. The state with the most gun control in the United States. More gun control, mind you, than New York. Because while in New York, you can actually get a concealed carry permit and you can go get your firearms licensing and all that fun shit, even though you don't have to have a general reason to. In the state of California, to this day, and I know this for a fact because I have friends still in California, I have family still in California. Even though it's a shall issue situation nowadays, they don't issue. They don't. They lose your application. They make it sit in the system so long you forget that you even had an application in because it takes 4 years for them to pass it. And you have to reapply every year. In the state of California, in the Stasi state of California, you got to apply every year for that license. But you know what you don't have to apply for every year? License to carry a cap and ball revolver. You know what you don't have to, what you do have to apply for every year, but allows you to carry a modern firearm for your own self-defense openly in the state of California? A hunting license. You know who can apply for a hunting license in the state of California? Everybody. So again, do you know what the difference between somebody who asks for permission and somebody who just does is? One is an American and one lives in America. See, the reason why I say that felons are the most American people in the United States is because they don't ask for permission, they ask for forgiveness. The most American thing I've ever seen in my life is rebellion against anything that is controlling. I'm not talking about acquiesce to. I'm not talking about, well, I choose to do this because it shows me to be a better person. No, you do it because if you don't, there is a consequence of going to prison for nothing more than exercising your rights. This is why I have big knives. This is why I have pistols and rifles and what all. I'm not asking for permission. Matter of fact, I am way the fuck past that bullshit. I asked permission one time as a test of society. See, that's what I do is I test people. Because I want to know who is raw and real and who is a fucking vile piece of shit who's only out for the power they can monger. That's the difference there. You see, I told people, I don't think of a knife as a weapon. I think of it as a tool because it is a tool. I don't think of a firearm as a weapon as that on that same subject, on that same ideal, because the only weapon is in here. This is a tool. This is a tool. This is a tool. This is a tool. See? All tools. The only weapon? Inside that hollow fucker. So my point remains. Permission slips are unlawful. In fact, permission slips are not only unlawful, they are proof that you are not only not an American, but you are a traitor to this country. Because if you're asking your government for permission, I want you to think about the foundation of this country, and I want you to think about whether or not they would have asked for permission from their government to carry their own firearms, to carry their own knives and axes and whatnot, to build their own weapons, to sell something to someone if they chose. Because I want to point out to you abundantly clearly, the only person who allows them to overwhelm you and overbear you is you. If you go and you do the background check just because you want a modern firearm, you are granting them power over you. I refuse to ever do that. I will never ask for permission from my government. I will never tell them, here, Here's my background. Now give me my cartridge firearm. I'm not going to do that. It's against my principles. I don't care whether or not, oh, well, it's the only legal way to get a new firearm. Okay. And? Well, if you go and you buy a private firearm, there might be bodies on it. Do I look like I give a ripe shit? Honest to God. Do you know how many bodies are on this fucking knife? Let's be clear. Do you have any idea how many bodies are on this knife? I don't. I have no idea. I got this from a neighbor of mine, a friend back in Blythe. I have no idea how many bodies are on that knife. I know how many bodies are on this one. Absolutely zero. I bought this from the store. Walmart. Okay? It's how I know what the price of the other one is, because I was looking, hey, maybe I might want to buy one of those. Oh, hey, those are $300. No. Point remains. This doesn't have any bodies on it. But I could throw this one way better than I could throw the other one. The other one might actually have some bodies on it. I don't know. Because I got it as a gift from a neighbor. I have no idea. I've never luminol tested it or nothing. Why? Because it doesn't matter to me. Let's be clear. I don't fucking care. What I care about is, do I have the ability to defend myself? Do I have the ability to butcher a fucking animal if I need to? Do I have the ability to skin that animal? Do I have the ability to clean out from underneath my fucking fingernails? Do I have the ability to cut through a fucking tie rope right now? Not 10 minutes from now, but right fucking now. That's what matters to me with these things. Can I kill a coyote? Yeah. This will drop a coyote. Okay? Now you see what I'm saying. It doesn't matter to me whether or not there's bodies on the gun. I don't care if, through a private sale, somebody sells me a gun that's fucking killed people, killed animals. Don't care. I really don't. It's a long-range hole punch. What you choose to punch holes in is up to you. However, it is not up to the government by any stretch of the fucking imagination. And whether or not you carry that for your own personal protection, because I'm telling you now, the criminals won't give a shit about their fucking policies or this, that, or the others. That's entirely up to you. The government can only give you permission. They can't carry it for you. This is my point. Okay? Criminals aren't going to give a shit what the cops say. They're not going to give a shit what the fucking government says. They're not going to give a shit what the law says. That's the whole point of being a criminal. Okay? For the rest of us, the ones who actually have to think about things like this and go, look, I don't have millions and billions of dollars. But what I do have is a life. I breathe. I think. I eat. I shit. I sleep. I drink water. I feel. I am a human being. Fucking 5 fingers, 5 toes, and all that everybody thinks about it when it comes to the nose. All on top. I am a human fucking being. I have the general right to be able to defend myself, to carry weapons for that, tools for that effect. Weapons. Tools for that effect. Arms to that effect. And the right to train so that I may regulate myself. See, what most people, probably good to call them that, most fecal matter particulates, most politicians don't understand about regulation in the American common, which is actually what that's called, by the way. It's not legalese. It's not plain English. It's not English at all. It's not even American English. It's what's called American Common. And if you don't know how to speak American Common, guess what? You don't know English. You don't know how to speak English, whether proper or non-proper. Improper, as it would be said in the proper English. Non-proper, as it would be said in the American Common. As would regulation be a constant cycle regulating the person, creating a regular situation. Regulation. Regular. It's right there in the fucking term. If it makes you regular, it's a regulation. So, if it's regulation to train, what the fuck is this bullshit that you can't legally do this? That is called legislation in the American Common. Do you see the chasm of difference here? This is what I'm talking about by the Second Amendment clearly states that it is the American public, it is their right to keep weapons, so-called tools for the effect of offensive engagement and physical harm to somebody who is causing you harm, which is defense. And it is necessary for the security of a free state, meaning that if we are to keep our people, our country, liberated, free from tyrannical rule, free from the oppressive boot of law, free from any kind of tyrant, we must be capable of standing to the common defense, that is, defense of everyone. That is the security, the holding on to of the free state. And that any infringement is legislation that would bar you from being able to do that. You see how that works? So now that I've explained it in pretty much plain English and legalese, let's get back to the American Common. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty certain. That sounds pretty adamant. As in, there's no wiggle room. There's no way for the government to say, oh, well, we could do this, but we could do that because it doesn't mean the same thing anymore. No, it says, shall not, meaning it is law that you may not be infringed. You cannot cross this boundary. If you cross this boundary, it is an infringement. This boundary is the right of the people to keep and bear arms, meaning it is my possession and I have it upon my person, open for the world to see or not see. That's my decision, not the government's. This is what I mean by that permission slip is a very dangerous item because it takes the decision so much away from you and makes it the government's decision on whether or not you may. And if you may, then it make it, if they say that you may, then it gives you back the option at that time to go, and then if you choose to carry a gun, carry any kind of projectile weapon. So this is what I mean by when I say that all that permits are is a permission slip for tyranny and oppression. This is what I mean. It is the government saying, okay, well, now that you've asked us for permission and we think that you should be allowed to, because you haven't actually said anything that would make it so that we can't, yeah, you can go and carry your gun. Just don't ever use it against us. Now, do you see what I'm saying here? Don't open your mouth against us. Don't use your gun against us. But you can have a concealed gun on your person. What they don't tell you is, if there is a concealed carry law in your state, and you personally can either not afford the concealed carry permit, or for that same matter, there is no concealed carry in your state. You are legally allowed, and lawfully so, to carry any firearm of your choosing open and visible to the public, known as constitutional carry. So, for instance, in a state like Hawaii, where the carry permit is about $1,500, and they don't hand them out. It's literally, oh, you're a cop, or you're a judge, or you're a juror, or you're a fucking witness to a crime who was almost murdered last night. Okay, you can have a gun, but everyone else can't. Wrong. Because, and Hawaii, I hope you're paying attention here, every state in the Union of the United States is obligated by law to allow the carry of firearms openly, so long as they are not being utilized in a crime. Do you understand what that means? If you don't, I'll embellish here. It means as long as you're not robbing a liquor store, you're not going in and fucking holding up a gas station, you're not, going and holding a bank teller hostage or some shit. You're not going to shooting your neighbor's dogs. You're not going and fucking killing your neighbors. You're not poaching or some shit. You're not shooting up your neighbor's houses, going and blowing away the neighborhood or something like that. You can legally carry a gun openly, just so long as everybody can see it, because you're not harming anyone else, and therefore you are not committing a crime. And if they feel harmed by the visual of seeing your firearm, that is their problem, not yours. Because legally speaking, you have a right to that firearm, and you have a right to carry of that firearm. Now, the government will say, oh, well, it's within certain parameters, except for one thing. According to DC versus Heller, the Second Amendment is not a second-class right, which means we must look at the actual text of the Second Amendment, the tradition which it was carried by, and we must look at all historical factors. At the time of it that it was written, not after the time it was written or before the time it was written, but specifically and pertinent to the exact point in time it was written and the politics therein. Why? Because that was the intent. They were telling Great Britain, no, fuck you. You cannot tell me that I can't carry my gun. You can't tell me that I can't provide for my family. You can't tell me that I have to tell you that I have this many guns, or this much ammunition, or this much black powder, or this much of this, that, and the others, or this many blades, or this many cows. You don't need to fucking know. All you need to know is, if push came to shove, I would back you. I would protect you. And that's all you need to know. Because anything less is pushing somebody to be less than human. This is why it's a basic human right. This is why so many other countries in the world are suddenly coming around to the thought of, humans need tools. So when it comes down to self-defense, give them the best tools possible. This is every country in the world. Save for in the United States, where we have this thing where because you're crazy or you're eccentric or you have an open opinion, a loud opinion, you can't have a gun. Because you're a little more aggressive than other people when you speak. You can't have a gun. But this docile fuck down the street can have a gun. It doesn't matter that the government will come and take it from them when they feel like it. Also, the gangbangers, they don't give a shit. They'll go and rob that dude for that gun. Yeah, a couple of them might get shot, but the rest of them, they're going to get away with that gun. They're going to steal a whole bunch of other stuff, and they're going to kill that person. Why? Because they are docile. They are not armed. They got a gun, but they're not armed. This is what I mean by I test people. I want to see, are you a docile fuck? Or do you have the set of balls necessary to actually stand up for yourself and for what you know to be true? If you don't, what's your agenda? What's your angle? If you are not playing an angle and you're just a pansy ass, dear fucking God, I pity your soul and I pity your mother. Because she's going to fucking sit there and have to deal with your bullshit. Me personally, my mom, she doesn't have to deal with my bullshit. She doesn't have to be afraid. Why? Because if you come marching through my front door, I might boot your ass the fuck back out. That's why. Because I have a specific attitude about me that says, I am armed. This bullshit is not armed. This is not fucking armed. Allow me to show you what armed means. You sure about that? You really want to fuck with me? All right. Your funeral. That's armed. So when it comes down to it, I've noticed that there's a lot of people who are here on the YouTubes that think that you shouldn't have guns, but they are armed to the fucking teeth. The only weapon they need are thumbs and an opinion. Funny enough, but they are armed. Because where the difference lies between myself and the retard circus is that I understand that armed is a mindset. It has nothing to fucking do with your effects. This is not arms. That is your arms. Your weapon. Your tools. Your weapon. Your tools. You see the difference now? Okay, so I want to be very clear. You cannot force somebody to have a permission slip to go armed. Why? Because I could take this piece of fucking glass and fucking break your teeth in just the same as if I was using a baseball bat. That's why. Armed does not mean the tools. It means the attitude. Stop going unarmed. Because the moment you do, bullies will always have the better and upper hand on you. Because they are always armed. You see the difference now. I'm not sitting here, I'm not some shriveling little coy flower. I'm not some wallflower that sits back and watches everything go by. No. I'm the dandelion sitting right out in the middle of the grass going, fuck you, and the horse you rode in on. Oh, by the way, guess what, fucker? Here's to your perfectness. This is what I mean when I say you need to stop asking for fucking permission to carry concealed or otherwise. Carry your guns. They're just a tool. You're armed because you have knowledge. You're armed because you have the attitude. You're armed because you are not taking somebody else's bullshit. You're smarter than that. You're more logical than that. And you're more capable than that. So stop living in this fantasy world of, well, I need to have permission. Oh, fuck you don't. If anything, you could do what I did. Ask permission one fucking time, and when they tell you no, do it anyways. Because they told you no. You asked permission out of a courtesy, not out of a need. Not out of necessity, out of kindness. You didn't have to ask. Same with me. I didn't fucking have to ask. I was 18 years old at a time when you could have a firearm as an 18-year-old, have a pistol as an 18-year-old. Back in 2006, 2005, 2006. They told me no because I didn't have special reasons to carry a firearm. I mean, let's forget the fact that the streets of LA are fucking dangerous as hell and you can't do a single fucking thing in that town. You can't work a single job without a firearm because you're constantly at threat. So, yeah. I mean, there's a reason for everybody, but that means that there's reason for nobody. This is what I mean by the permission slip bullshit has to end. You need to stop asking for fucking permission. You need to stop paying for damn 2A insurance, whatever the fuck that bullshit is. Learn how to defend yourself. And I'm not just talking about in the gunfight. I'm talking about after the gunfight. Learn how to defend yourself. And then secondarily, but more importantly than all of it, have the balls to do it. Because knowledge is power. But power unused might as well be air. This is my point. This is why I carry cap and ball revolver, yes, sure, but openly in the state of Oregon. Wait a minute, isn't the state of Oregon one of those you have to have a special fucking license to carry states? If it wasn't for that little fucking tiny nuance that I explained earlier in the video, yeah, I'd be in deep shit because I was open carrying. And I open carry all the time, everywhere, every day. Difference being, every state in the Union has this clause because they have to follow the United States Constitution. So if you can get a firearm, you can carry it. Doesn't mean you have to carry it openly. You could go and ask the king for permission or whatever. But that's your failing, not mine. I'll show you. I carry right there. OBW, or sorry, OWB, outside the waistband, right there on my hip. As you can see, always there. It's always there. And this is my point. Throw the jacket over the top, and it doesn't look like I'm carrying anything. Except, if you look, there's the barrel, and it's constantly visible. This is open carry, even though it's concealed carry. And this is what I mean when I say that Uncle Sam will sit there and try to fucking boondoggle you. The difference is you have to know these little nuances in order to beat Uncle Sam at his own game. You will not be a tyrant over me. You will not hold me down because I know the law in this particular. I have the right to open and lawfully legally carry, so long as I am doing no harm to other individuals, other citizens within my general vicinity. That's the law. I could have this sword on my hip, as long as it's visible. I could have it on my back, as long as it's visible. And because I'm not sitting there going, death to you people or whatever, legal to carry, completely fucking legal to carry. This is what I mean when I say, have the balls to do what's necessary. Just because it's scary should not mean that you quail from it. Because while you're quailing away from it, criminals are doing it anyways. And unlike you, they are concealed carrying without the license. They are doing such things without these licenses. They're going to do it to you too. Hope I got through to somebody in this particular hour of talking. Y'all have a good one. Yo Guardsman is out.